So hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Sarah Sharnweber, and I wanted to talk a little bit about some stuff going on in Authortube, some conversations that I think we probably should have. So I'm going to kind of do a series. I think it's going to be a few videos long, but I don't know for sure how many. But I do want to emphasize that I want this to be a conversation, so please leave a comment down below for anything you disagree with, anything that I didn't come to a conclusion on and what your conclusion is. I would like us to have conversations in our community, and so I think this might be a good way to start having some of them. All right, so I've seen conversation about the title full-time author a number of times floating around Authortube. I know various people use it to mean various things, and I think we should kind of talk about what expectations might be for that title. I genuinely don't know what would make someone a full-time writer slash full-time author versus unless it's pretty cut and dried that they are working as a second job writing, or that they're supplementing with a full-time position. I think that is what a lot of people mean by it, but I think there are some nuanced questions that we should ask before we just settle on, if you don't have a day job, you're a full-time writer. I've seen various criteria, and I'm not quite sure what criteria I think would apply best, but the first thing I see most is earning at least the equivalent of minimum wage a year from your writing. I think that could be a good window for some people, but I don't think that's gonna work for everybody. I think being able to contribute to the household bills and things does mean a lot as far as your status as a full-time author. Whether or not you actually work 40 hours a week doing it, which I don't think is a necessity for you to call yourself a full-time author. I know some people might think that would be the necessity, would be to have 40 hours a week doing it, but I don't necessarily think that that's a criteria myself. If you disagree with that, let me know down below why you think that somebody would need to write 40 hours a week. Or what other criteria, maybe how many hours do you think they should be working? Let me know that down below. The next criteria that I'm wondering about is other side things. Like, do those count as your author platform? And since they come from your writing, do those count as income as a writer? Or are we only talking about actual writing income? Because there are various things that you might make money doing as a writer, especially a writer who uses social media, that might earn you money. So does that count? I don't know. I don't know why it wouldn't. It's something you're doing as an author. I'm sure that the people who host masterclasses probably consider themselves to be working on writing during their classes. I do think that it's reasonable to count other income streams related to your writing as part of your writing income. Another line I see drawn sometimes is whether they're traditionally or self-published. I think that's kind of a bad comparison because there are a ton of people who earn money self-publishing, and there are a ton of people who don't earn a lot of money who are traditionally published. So I don't think that's a fair criteria either. I think another criteria that some people might argue would be whether or not you make the local minimum wage in your area, so related to your own local cost of living. I suppose that's an okay gauge. Full-time does not indicate that they are earning tons of money. It just indicates how much they're working. So that would bring up, is there a difference between being a full-time writer and full-time paid? Would that be a different title? Is there a different thing we would call that? Or is being a full-time author only if you're getting paid as though you have a full-time job at least minimum wage? The next thing is that most businesses, like most like private small businesses, take a loss for a couple of years no matter what their business is. So I think it's unfair to expect that someone who is writing full time would be earning faster than someone who is opening any other small business. So I think it's important that we keep in mind before we start pointing fingers and saying this person doesn't earn enough money to be a full-time author. I think it's important that we remember that just because you don't earn money doesn't mean you're not a business. And I think the last question that I think is really important is, when does it become Authortube's job to call out people who are misusing those titles? Is it beneficial to us as a community to come out and say so-and-so says they're a full-time author, but they actually have a job? Or to come out and say so-and-so says they're a full-time author, but they haven't published anything in 3 years, so how are they calling themselves a full-time author? I think that kind of leads into a bigger question, which is, does calling people out for misleading others in a non-official scam way, like saying that you have an Amazon bestseller when you have an Amazon bestseller in Greek language pop-up books from 2021 after September? I mean, yeah, you are the best-selling book because you're literally the only one in that title. Those kinds of things, those are misleading, but I don't know that they would qualify as scams. So for people who are not scamming, but who are misleading people, how much good does it do for us to call them out anyway? Is it the kind of thing that we should just be sure that we're doing correctly? Is it the kind of thing we should talk about in general terms and let people figure out for themselves which people are fibbing? I really don't know the answer to those questions. It doesn't seem to me that any time that there has been a Authortube call out that there has been any improvement in the community. In fact, it seems to cause additional problems for the community. It makes people think that there are problems throughout the community that only affect a small corner of it. It can result in people taking sides and attacking people without knowing who they're even attacking. I know in some of the gossip sites, I have seen, even like, and not even just an Authortube, but all over the place, where once in a while people will start using initials for someone, and then you get further into the conversation and you realize that someone has joined who didn't know who the initials were, so they're talking about someone totally unrelated. I've seen it in Authortube gossip areas, I've seen it in regular gossip areas. I do enjoy a good gossip site. Do those communities help at all? Do those communities, obviously they're working with themselves, like that part of it is great, but should we be accessing those things? So I guess what I wanted to know is, does the overuse of titles, does the misleading use of titles such as Amazon bestselling author, or is claiming those things, is it dangerous to our community, or is it the kind of thing that if we raise red flags about the fact that it is done, that we can count on viewers to know that's not the real way to do it, and that's disingenuous? And can we, if we explain that in general terms, can we then count on viewers going into new videos with these misleading things in them, going into new areas, and still remembering and utilizing that information to assess whether or not that person is kind of ripping them off? And I'm not 100% sold on this answer, but right now my answer would be, I don't think it matters if we can educate every single person, and I don't think it ultimately matters if some people are going to ignore the information they're given. I think that's human nature. There's no way that nobody is going to ever be misleading on Authortube again. That's just not going to happen. There's too many people. They're doing too many things. I guess my final thought on that is that if you're willing to mislead people, the issue you're going to run into is when you finally do get found out, those people are going to bail because people don't like feeling like they've been lied to. So keep that in mind. What do you guys think about all of this? Do you have thoughts, feelings? Do you think I'm an idiot? Am I wrong? Please let me know. I don't have any problem having a conversation. I will try to reply to as many comments as I can. I usually do, but you never know. So I will see you guys all later. Please let me know down below what you guys think about this. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And, you can always share it too. Whatevs. Bye.